Choosing the right market can be pretty scary at first, but in all honesty, it can have a huge impact on your real estate investments, wherever you are at. So in today's video, I really just wanted to go over some of the things to look out for when selecting a market, because I know how big of a difference it can really make. Like, it could be literally the difference of making money and losing a lot of money. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Justin You're, and I've helped hundreds of people make money in real estate. So first of all, in this video, there are probably like 4 main factors that I look for when selecting a real estate market. The first of those factors is population. Now, it's super important to have a big enough population that can support whatever business you're planning to launch in real estate, whether it's flipping, wholesaling, rental properties, whatever it is. Having a good enough population can have a huge impact. So for flipping, for example, you want to have a big enough population to where if you're going to list a home for sale, people will actually buy it and buy it quickly enough. Like that's the whole point of flipping, is you want to buy a house, you want to fix it up, and then you want to resell it for someone else to buy. That's how you actually make the profit. Now, what I look for in population is I want a city that's at least 500,000 people. Kind of an arbitrary number, but in reality, if you have a city that has 500,000 people, it's generally enough to have enough supply and demand of housing where you can freely buy and sell homes wherever you like, and there's always someone who's going to be wanting to buy the home that you sell. Like, that's the whole point of it. Now, like I said, 500,000 is ideal. My main market is Fresno, California. As of the census of like 2020, they had at least 500,000 people, so it kind of hit the main mark. Now, that's not the only market I will invest in, however. There are other markets that I'll invest in, kind of surrounding Fresno, that's in California, and these markets do not have 500,000 people. They have like 100,000 or, 130,000, but usually, generally, like, I will be willing to invest in a market that has maybe 100,000 people. Anything less than that, it kind of gets a little bit iffy. And the reason is, and this is even something that my hard money lenders have told me, I used to go to identify deals in like kind of these rural areas where the population's literally like 30,000 people. And I was like, hey, this is a great deal. Like, I should buy this. I go to my hard money lender and they're like, we're not gonna lend there. I'm like, why? And the reason they're saying is because like they've been hurt so many times in the past from other flippers who have invested in these small little cities, just because like when they go to resell the property, no one wants to buy it. And that goes for like not just like small towns, but just in general, like rural country settings. Like I don't really look at those properties. I really look for the properties that are in the city, in a big enough city, and in the actual city, not in like farmland area. Like that's really what I go for when it comes to flipping, because I want to know that when I resell the property, it's actually gonna sell. So 500,000 population's ideal, 100,000, I'll be able to work with it. So those are the kind of population parameters that I look for when selecting a market. The second thing that I look at is the days on market. If you don't know what that is, it's basically how long a home will sit on the market on average. And I'm looking for a real estate market that has a days on market of 90 days or less. Now, if you don't know what that really means, it means that on average, all of the homes on the market will sit. Like if you go to list the home for sale, it will sell within 90 days or less. That's essentially the days on market that I'm looking for. Now you can find this very easily with the help of a realtor who has access to the MLS to give you this information. But basically, if you wanted to calculate that, you pretty much just take the days on market in total, like for all the properties that are for sale, all the days on markets, and you divide by the number of listings that it has. Now, whatever that number is, whatever that calculation is, that's your average days on market. And if it's over 90 days, it's still doable to flip in that market or do real estate business in that market. However, you will just have to expect for properties to sit just a little bit longer than is preferred. Now, you might be wondering, like, why is it so important for you to even have a market like where you can have 90 days or less? And here's why. It's something that I'm actually going through right now that it's not scaring me, but it's different. Now, in Fresno, right at this moment of recording, for the past 2 years or so, like the market's been insane. Like you list a home for sale and you get like 20 offers in the first 5 days, all above asking price. Like it's absolutely insane, at least it was. However, things are kind of shifting back more to normal or like a regular market. And I like just listed a flip or a home that I just flipped. It's been on the market for like a month, no offers. And it's like listed fairly. I listed it at there's plenty of comps to justify, or I'm sorry, plenty of comparable homes to justify that price that we listed at. And it's not selling as fast. And it made me think, like, even though this isn't even we're not even in a normal market yet. A normal market is where a home maybe sits, like, I don't know, 4 months total. Like that's weird to me, because I was so used to these like fast transactions where you list and instantly get off. Well, we're not getting that now. And I can only imagine if we were in a completely different market, or if I selected a market where like it literally sat for a year. Obviously not ideal for flipping because you want to essentially get your money back as fast as humanly possible. So you want to pick a market that makes sense, where if you list a home, you're going to sell it in 90 days. However, there are markets out there, depending on the times of like, not year, but depending what year you're at, where if you list a home, like it might not take 90 days, it might take double that, it might take 6 months, or it might take 8 months to actually sell. Now that's another 8 months where you have to pay all these holding costs, like your water, sewer, electricity, your lender, like your mortgage payment or interest, taxes. There's a lot of other expenses that you have to pay. You can definitely flip in those kinds of markets. Like, I'm not trying to make you shy away from those markets. However, if you are in that market, you just have to budget for that, and you have to understand what kind of market you're in. So if you're in that market where it takes 6 months to sell a home, like you better be budgeting for that when you actually make the offer, so that when you're paying all these holding costs every single month as you're waiting for the home to actually sell, like you're not worried. You're like, no, I already budgeted for this. We're ready to sell this. So that's what you have to do in those kinds of markets. But honestly, I say just pick the good market instead. Now, the third thing that I look at is the inventory levels. Now, inventory levels, it kind of tells you what kind of market that market is. Now, you probably heard the terms like buyer's market or seller's market. There's a lot of like different, actually there's like 3 main markets. There's buyer's market, seller's market, and like a neutral market. So when you look at inventory levels, it's essentially trying to tell you, or it's telling you how much inventory is in that market. So if you ever wanted to calculate inventory levels, you essentially just take the total number of homes for sale and divide it by the number of homes that sold last month. Now what that tells you, it tells you if no more homes were ever to be listed, how many months would it take to sell all the homes for sale? Like that's essentially what it's telling you. And if it says 3 months or less, you're in what's known as a seller's market. So essentially there's not a lot of homes to look at. So the sellers have the power in the market, and buyers probably are willing to pay a little bit higher. Sellers have the advantage over buyers in this kind of market. This is kind of the ideal market for flipping. So like I said, 3 months or less of inventory is a seller's market. It's ideal for flipping. Really kind of depends what kind of market you're in, but that's a good flipping market. If you're looking at an inventory level of 4 to 5 months, that's more kind of a neutral market. There's no advantage to the seller or the buyer. And if you're looking at like 6 months or above of inventory, that is a definite buyer's market. So the buyers kind of have the power. Essentially, that means there's so many homes on the market that all the buyers have the power. So like if they don't like a home as they're going to view it, they're like, no, I'll just go to the next one. Whereas in the tighter markets of like a seller's market, the buyers can literally go to these houses and they view it and they're like, it's not perfect, but maybe we can make it work. Like maybe let's adjust our offer. Like they'll try to work with the sellers a lot more compared to like the 6 month plus inventory market. So those are the differences. And what I look for is I want to have a seller's market or a neutral market. Like neutral market's always healthy, but a seller's market is perfect for flipping because it makes me aware that essentially like if I'm in a seller's market, like I would have the advantage as the flipper when I go to sell the home. However, it does make it sometimes harder to buy homes from sellers when you are in a seller's market, because the sellers will feel some type of they'll feel that they can get a lot more out of the property than they actually can. Because, like in the seller's market, all the hype is there. They can just sell the property real easily for a super ridiculous price. So that could be harder, but really I like the seller's market for flipping in the neutral market. So that's what I look for. And again, you can find this information from a realtor, or you can pull up the data. I think Zillow has all this data too. Like you can pull up the data on Zillow and do the calculations yourself. And like I said, the calculation is the total homes on the market for sale divided by how many homes actually sold or like the past month. So that's how you calculate that number. The last thing I look for in selecting a market is proximity. So this is something that has changed for me, but I know at first this is what I was comfortable with. I wanted to be close to my properties. Back when I was living in Fresno, California, doing all the flips and the wholesales there, I wanted to be close to my properties, so if anything ever went wrong, I'd be there to solve the problem and just kind of be there. I'd feel safer. That was something that was important to me, and I always kind of recommend people is that if you're starting out, start in your own backyard. Start where you're comfortable. Like start where you literally know the street names and the difference between this block and this block. And you might not know them that well, but honestly, if you've been living in a city your whole life, you probably know it kind of well. You might know it somewhat, where where you know the differences of neighborhoods, where you know where the ghetto is, you know where the nice neighborhoods are, like you know the differences, right? So I say start in your backyard, and right now, I currently live in Las Vegas, but I invest in Fresno, California, because that's still my backyard. Like I still know Fresno, California way better than I know Vegas. So I'm still investing in my backyard, even though I don't live there anymore. So if that's something that matters to you, like just try to start in your backyard. I realize that some people live in like the super expensive markets like San Francisco, LA. You can still invest there. Like believe it or not, I promise you can invest in those markets. You can buy there even without using your own money in these expensive markets. It's possible. I have lots of friends who do it. I haven't personally yet invested in one of those big markets, but the concepts are still the same. Like I invest in homes in my market. I don't use my own money. I use other people's money, and you can do it regardless. So don't have that limiting belief, but proximity is the last thing that I think makes a big difference if you're starting out as a new investor of where to invest. So again, those are the 4 factors that I look at, and I hope that helps. Also, if you want help to grow your real estate business, I want you to click on the link in the description for a free strategy session. Peace.